Hello everybody and welcome. Peter Hayes is my name. I'm Senior Lecturer in General Practice. Hello, behind the camera is Ms. Monica Casey, the Administrator. So listen, this is basically trying to teach you how to use the Sulis part of, I suppose it's UL software. So Sulis is basically a virtual blackboard. So the easiest way to go into it, if you come in a little bit closer, Monica, basically open up Google, put in SULISUL, and it'll come up, okay? Obviously you open that website. Now I've already logged in. You, however, will be sent by UL some login details, a user ID or a password, and that should be sent to you by ITD. That happens when you register as a student and should be with you before the course begins. If not, you can get back in contact with us. So I'm going to log in. So the next thing you do when you log in is you go here to sites, and I'm obviously on different courses, but the course we're actually on will be 1920, it's just a 0 there, semester 2, GM 5001. So if you click on that, we're into the diabetes course Blackboard place. So again, when you come in, just click on this sites. It will tell you all the courses you are registered for, which in your instance will just be one. My page looked a bit busier, so you'll just click on GM 5001 and then you get into this page. So this is a diabetes mellitus module on the care of patients with diabetes in primary care. So it's a 12-week module. We will have a different module and a different topic each week. And the idea is that you go in each week, you read the material that's related to that week's topic. It's about the care of patients with diabetes. So you read that week's topic, and then what we get you is we get you to try and discuss some of the issues relating to what you've read in a chat forum online. And I'll show you how that works. In the chat forum, there will be an expert for each week. That will be a facilitator for that week's program. The facilitator may be a consultant endocrinologist, it may be a general practitioner with a special interest, a nurse practitioner, it may be an academic, it could be a podiatrist, dietitian, etc. We have lots of specialties, exciting specialties involved in this course. So, more with that. And I'm just going to go through little bits one by one. Okay, so if we look at this sidebar here, this is actually what controls what's on the website. So overview, we're just in here, and I'm just telling you a little bit about what's going on, okay? Now there's a calendar. Now the calendar doesn't have a lot of detail in it, and you do not need to use the calendar, but I actually have the relevant dates in this if you're somebody who feels they need to use a calendar. Other deadlines, it's mainly the deadlines for some of the submission of some of the written work that we're going to ask you to produce is in this calendar, and the dates of the workshops are in this calendar, but we will spoon feed you these dates anyway as the course goes on. So this isn't a prerequisite to know. The most important one is probably to click, so that's calendar, if we click on resources, because everything is in here, okay? So resources, module outline and tutors. So if we click on this to open it, it comes down here in a Word document. So we open the Word document, and it'll take a little bit of time to open. But what this will give you details of what topic is on each week, which specialty is directing it, and basically the dates that this week runs. Okay, so our course starts towards the end of January and will run from 12 weeks thereafter. It may be confusing when you look at this initially because we have week 9, as I'll explain to you. So these are just some stuff. I haven't a clue where that disappeared to. We'll keep going. Ask me later is always good. So if you look here in this Word document, I've given you a little bit of introduction, a little bit about the facts of the course, a little bit of how to get your CPD points, and that's important for you. internal, external, and an audit worth reading. But outline of the program is here, and it tells you who the tutor for each week is, what the topic for each week is, and what the dates of that week runs. Okay. It also tells you the workshop dates. There are 2 workshops in this course. There are 4 or 5 hour workshops, 4.5 hour workshops that will run on Saturdays on these dates. And these are mandatory attendance unless there's a real reason why you can't attend to that. There's a little note also on assessment. So that's the first thing really to see when we look here. Let's close this down. And don't worry, you'll do this too. So I shut down doubly here. We'll be into it in Jiminy Cricket. So we've gone through calendar. We've gone through, if we go back into resources. So here we are, GM 5001. So we're back into it. So GM 5001, that's the course you need to be in. So if we look here at resources again, I've given you, there's a bit about the module outline and tutors. There's a map here. I don't necessarily have to open that. It tells you where UL GEMS is because the workshops will be on here in the UL Graduate Entry Medical School. And there's a little bit about assessments and assignments. So I'll open up this and we just discuss it briefly. So assessment is going to be an interesting thing. There's 30% for continuous assessment and there's 70% for your assignments, okay? So the continuous assessment is 2 aspects. You get marks for participating online by discussing the topic of the week with your peers. If you do that in a good systemic fashion, you get a fine mark here. 8% will give you out of 20% if you just have a superficial presence, and we'll give you 10 to 13 if you're engaging to an acceptable level, and we'll give you 40 to 20 if you're making a consistent effort to engage meaningful with the module. Students will be given an overall score in this aspect by the module leader, who's me, and I'll observe and oversee the participation in the online forums, along with the people who are leading that forum each week. There's also a percentage for attendance at the workshops, 10%. So 30% is continuous assessment, and then 70% are assignments. Basically, there are 4 written pieces required to pass this module, 3 small written pieces, which we call activities, and 1 large assignment at the end. The activities and the large assignment at the end, they're all kind of intermixed. Like activity 1 is basically a question on screening. Activity 2 is to create a diabetes register. And activity 3 is about making an audit on that kind of a subset of that register. And then the assignment is talking really about the activities and looking at evidence base that you've learned throughout the course. So if we go back into resources, we've looked at now module outline, we've looked at map, we've looked at, you can see here, Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6, Unit 7, Unit 8. Now, Unit 9, we've split into A, B, and C because they kind of go together, but we're going to take a separate week for each one of these. So 8, 9, 9B then is 10, 9C is 11, and 10 is actually 12. Why don't we call it units 1 to 12? I think it was largely 9A, 9B, 9C because these are to do with target organ damage and it was best to put them together rather than to have them as separate units. But it's 12 weeks. So 9B and 9C are much shorter units, but that's going to give you some space also in that week to have a look at your final assignment. That's a key point. It'll give you the space to do that, okay? So that's really all we have in the resources. So if you look here, Unit 1, I'll just give you a quick example. So Unit 1, if you open it up, it gives you the reading for that week, okay? You can see these are our courses. So basically, this is kind of a foolproof introduction. It asks you to reflect on different things. It asks you to think about different things. It may ask you to look at papers. And we have all the relevant papers that we ask you to look at within the Sulis Blackboard also, okay? So you basically go down through it. There's some think points, reflective points. We may steal some of those and we may put some of those into the forums to try and get the chat going on the course, on the different issues. If you skip down to the end, usually a guy running is an activity. If you can look down the side, you'll see the activities pop up. So here we go. So this is activity 1. So obviously there's only 3 activities. So each unit, doesn't have an activity. But they're, I think they're in like week 1, week 4, and week 7 or something like that. And the final assignment is obviously at the end of the course. So that's where you find all the reading material essentially. And don't worry, all the papers. There's resource material as well. If you can look back here. So if I did that probably too quick for you. So I'm just going to go back into it. So you can see here then the module outline, tutor details, the map, assignments, and then we have all the units here. There's a thing here called resource material for units 1 to 10, including 9B and 9C, papers, guides, extra reading. So if you click on that, any papers that are mentioned in the units are in here. Like say unit 1, I have the extra readings here. So if we're asking you within the main bulk of the unit's reading to check out a different paper, the paper will be here, okay? So if we go back out, we can see that's essentially all we have in resources. Lessons, there's nothing in it. Assignments is interesting. So when you're to put in your assignments, we want you to basically write your assignments in Microsoft Word, and then we want you to upload it here. So say for activity 1, you click on activity 1. Now I'm obviously an instructor on this course, so I see a different thing. So I'm going to show you now the student view. So essentially what you do when you click on that is you'll see this, and there'll be a thing down here that says add attachments. So you click add attachments, and then you desktop, and you find your Microsoft Word that you've written, your essay that you've written, and you basically upload it to where you've been directed to do it here. So there's a space for activity 1, activity 2, auditor, the activity 3, and the end of module assignment here in this place. Now, the only other big issue is the forums. So if we go into forums, I've created a different chat forum for each unit. That's units 1 to 12, and there's also general discussion places for the workshops as well if people want to do that. So for example, in general discussion unit, the way this works is that I will, or someone who's running the topic for the week, the expert for the week, will probably start a new conversation. So they'll click on that, you don't need to worry about that. And they'll give it a title and they'll say DM screening. How hard is it? And then they'll post that. And so what you see is this comes up here. So when you open up this conversation, how hard is it? And the idea is then that people will answer, discuss with each other by replying, say, really hard. And it's just post. So you can see the way the conversation starts to develop. Not so hard, post. So this is how the forum will work, that people will just reply and do different things to each other. And the idea is that we'd set up a discussion on the forum as well. So it's not merely about doing assignments and reading units. There are marks in this course for chatting with each other, for asking questions of the experts, for demanding answers on things you aren't sure about, etc. So this is really an important part. And from the UCC and NUI Galway approach, where this course also works, some of the most valuable learning takes part here within the forum. So it's really important that you engage with these, okay? I mean, that's basically all I have to say. So we'll just quickly go through a summary. So when you go into, click on sites, when you've logged in, find GM 5001, and this is your diabetes module. Any new announcements will be in announcements. There is a calendar there with the dates of the workshops and the dates you need to submit your written work, but we will signpost all these for you in emails anyway, so the calendar isn't that important. The resources is really important. It tells you the module outline, the tutor is what's been done, it gives you a map to get to here, it tells you how things are assessed and the assessments that are needed. We give you the units 1 to 12, but remember 9 has A, B and C, so there's actually only 10 units. And then we have the resource materials, which is the extra materials for the units. If we ask you within the main unit, we say, check out this paper, that paper will be here in resource material. The assignments is not so difficult. You'll see activity 1, you click on it, and you'll see some page that looks a little bit like this. So you do your assignment in Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, and then you'll add the attachment. And that will submit it. It'll if you add the attachment, it'll ask you sure you're adding, and then it'll say something like, do you want to post this? And then you click post. Okay, so that's the assignments. If we go down, the other important thing is that the forums are here, and we'll have this type of a forum that's going on here. Okay. Initially, what will happen is either I or one of the course leaders will set up the conversation. And then the idea is people need to get stuck in, but you need to ask questions also of each other, okay? The dates for the submission for the various activities are kind of a week after each. So in Unit 1, we ask for an activity. So I would expect that activity to be in by the end of week 2. Okay, that's kind of how these work, okay? So if you're asked for another activity in Unit 3, you know, you have kind of a week, the following week to do it. And then there's another activity that's in later on. And obviously the assignment will give you a week or 2 at the end of the course to finish it, but you will have space during units 9B and 9C as they're much shorter. So that's week 10 and 11 will be much shorter to kind of get your assignment together, because that's a major piece of work. But remember, there's also marks for attending the workshops, and there's also marks for participating in the forum. The last thing I want to say is about the workshops. They're going to start at 9:30. They're on the 2 Saturdays. We're going to have a various amount of speakers. We're going to discuss issues with the course. Obviously, there'll be some space to discuss the mechanics of the course. And we're also going to have guest speakers, podiatrists, dietitians, specialists in particular areas and adherence, the lineup itself will be interesting and stimulating, and the idea is not to spend too long doing anything, and we'll cover maybe four different things during the day. We'll have some lunch breaks and coffee breaks as well, but the tendencies workshops are mandatory. So that's pretty much it. There is some other information on the site. Feel free to poke around it. You're not going to crash the site or anything. A bit about the library, a bit of statistics advice, etc. But these are the issues of how we use it. If you want to log out, you click log out. Okay, so again, to find it, Google UL Sulis, okay? That's good out of me. So Google Sulis, UL Sulis, okay? You'll find it very easy. Put in your user ID and your password. We would expect that once you've been registered as a student, this should be sent to you. And this is one of the first things you should try to do. If not, if there's a problem with it, contact us. We'll be dealing with you online. We're open to all queries, and we hope to see you at the workshops. Thank you very much for listening. Take care. Bye now.